What's up, guys? And so, Ahsoka episode 5 has landed on the Disney Plus, and all I gotta say is, wow, what an episode this was. This episode was truly incredible. It was amazing and totally made Clone Wars and Rebels fans are so happy. And just with the way that this episode looks, with the cinematography and the action, and also bravo to Dave Filoni by the delivery of some of the best episodes. And the best show of Star Wars, the Disney Plus, and even with this entire episode, it gave us so much, and even with more Anakin and so much more for what to witness, especially within the rest of the show. And so that's what I'm doing for you guys in this video, is to give you guys my review of Ahsoka episode 5. We'll go over everything that went down, and even to talk about the importance of that we should know, especially going into the last couple of episodes as well. And so if you're new here, then be sure to subscribe, click the bell, and so it's on video. So let's get into it. And now, especially with going into this episode, especially after a cliffhanger at the end of last episode, where Ahsoka is in the world between worlds, as it was in season 4 of Rebels, and then we saw Anakin Skywalker hitting Christensen right there, and even with that cliffhanger, and it continued right where it left off, and even with Anakin says to Ahsoka that he wants to finish her training, because that's what happened in the Clone Wars, and Ahsoka did not finish her training, and even with Ahsoka that wanted to finish her training, but instead we see them fighting, especially this is Ahsoka versus Anakin, was the best thing to happen on screen, especially for the Disney Plus show, and even so this is Ahsoka versus Darth Vader in this episode. And next we see Hera, Jason, and Chopper investigating the aftermath of what happened within the battle between Balin and Ahsoka right after Balin defeated her off a cliff, and even with the map that was destroyed by Balin, and now they had to go find Sabine, and even to find Ezra as well, especially I think in prepare for Grand Admiral Thrawn's return. And it was with this episode, this episode spends its entire runtime just to get us the best Star Wars action to ever deliver. And now, as we see Ahsoka and Anakin fighting, we see Ahsoka falling, and we see her falling into a flashback, and this is from the early days of the Clone Wars, and we see a young Ahsoka right here, and we see all the stormtroopers, and we even see Anakin right here. That's just the way that I looked in the early days of the Clone Wars, when he was first training Ahsoka, and even that would be a young version of Ahsoka in here. I'd include a flashback from the Clone Wars, meaning that's what I anticipated for the show, and I'm glad that the show delivered, especially with the appearance of Anakin and with the use of flashback from the Clone Wars. And even for what's so cool about this is that within this episode's title, it is titled Shadow Warrior, and which this means that with Ahsoka, she is training to become a Jedi, and even with Anakin, that is teaching her by having her involved in a battle like this, plus with the stormtroopers involved, of course, and just even with the way that this looks, this looks cinematic, and the fact that Dave Filoni done this episode, bravo to him, especially for giving us a cinematic episode, especially with a flashback like this, especially with the use of Anakin and young Ahsoka, and even with the fight right here between young Ahsoka, especially with Darth Vader as well, and even with the shot of Anakin walking in the sun, walk far away. This shot was the most epic shot I've ever seen. And then after the flashbacks and that we see Ahsoka coming back to the present life, meaning that she is alive, and even before she was all of a sudden she was in the water, she was underwater, and even when Balin defeated her, she landed in the water, and possibly for when she was dying, she was probably taken there to a world but between worlds, so it was probably just like a dream, or probably in the afterlife, and then we see her being rescued, especially by Hera, and even with Ahsoka, Hera, and the rest of them making it their mission to go find Sabine. And now, even with this cool scene right here, is that even with Ahsoka as on their mission, and the rest of them to go find Sabine, and even Ezra as well, and now like, we see up in the sky is the space whales, especially from the third episode, for when we saw Ahsoka and Sabine flying through them, and like, even so, I mean, I'm glad that the space whales are back, and even with these with the ships, and like they're like flying towards them, especially in the daylight, it looks totally beautiful there, and even with Ahsoka and what she does with the Force, like she's like using it to communicate with the Virgil, and that's why like she's like using the Force and like to have them take them to go find Sabine. Even for like the thing that I truly loved about this episode, and how it is all incredibly shot, is that with the use of the space whales that we use, especially in the Star Wars Rebels, and even with them being used, especially in this episode, it was totally epic to see, and it created just like great stuff. And now, with this episode, it ends in the most incredible and a perfect way, and that is with the Purgils that are like taking Addison and everyone else to go find Sabine, and even to find Ezra as well. And we see like the space whale for where Ahsoka and Hugo are in just to go find Sabine, and they're going into hyperspeed. I mean, hyperspace, and like even so, I think this was like a perfect way to end this episode. And even though with the score and that was in this episode, that was a truly awesome way just to end this episode for a Star Wars Disney Plus show. All I gotta say is that even now that we're halfway through the show, with like the last couple of episodes left, I mean, even though with the show that was off to a great start, and even with this episode alone, I mean, I'm just ready to watch more, especially for the show will conclude, and hopefully that will see Thrawn as well. But even so, I just really enjoyed the show so far. It has such great promise at the start, but now as we're continuing halfway, it's just like continue like to like give me one like the best piece of content ever in Star Wars history. And on top of that, with the bring back Hayden Christensen back in the Star Wars was like truly amazing. I mean, it was like breathtaking to just watch Anakin Skywalker's return, especially in the show, and even with like these past two episodes that we got, especially with his return, it was truly amazing. And even with Anakin and Ahsoka interacting for the first time in live action, and it was truly awesome and incredible to see. And yeah, with my final thoughts, this was truly an incredible episode from start to finish. Even though it started off a little bit slow, but then it kicked it into high gear, especially with the cinematography, the flashbacks, the action, and so much more. And I mean, bravo to Dave Filoni by delivering to us a great episode, possibly in like the history of Star Wars, the Disney Plus. And even with this episode alone, that was truly incredible to watch. And even for what's the story for the rest of the show, and how it will conclude, like, I guess we'll just have to wait and see for what's in store as well. And so that is going to be it for this video. And let me know your guys' thoughts in the comments below. Now, what your thoughts on Ahsoka episode 5? If you've seen the episode, and give me a rating to 1 out of 10. Give this video a like and subscribe, and turn on notifications about future videos. And also follow my social, which are linked down below. And with that, I'll see y'all in the next video. Peace.